Hey guys, what's up? Unrested here, back again with one more video in the crime section of the Japan Times, Japan Today, whichever news you want to read, it's in all of those. And again, doing crime because I mentioned this one in my last video about a mother who killed her 4 kids, and then people wanted me to do a video on that. So it's kind of like been this chain recently of crime in Japan, which again is a very safe country with not a lot of murder and crime, but I'm left doing the most sensational stories, which really I think I need to start grouping these stories with more upbeat, positive stories that Japan has as well. So not to issue out this sort of declaration of Japan being a dystopia. So this one deals with the mom who's killed her 4 kids. And apparently, I had said before that she had stabbed the 4 kids, but apparently according to police, recently they found that one of the kids had strangulation marks on them, so it's a mixture of stabbing and strangling her kids. She's a 41-year-old woman who killed her 4 kids. She appears to be, from what I can tell from the information, which is not very good, she was a stay-at-home mom, a housewife. The father was at work. She killed the 4 kids. He came home, found all 4 kids dead. The wife had tried to cut her own wrist to commit suicide, but of course, like most of these cases, she didn't follow through with it. It was like they said they took her to the hospital and she had mild superficial wounds, which I always wonder about this. Like, I don't for a second think that suicide is selfish. I think it's a point of desperation. But I do feel like murder-suicide is selfish, because if you take your own life, you're thinking, a lot of the times these people are thinking, I'm going to rid the world of me because I'm useless, and stop bothering people with my presence. But when you commit murder-suicide, whereas you murder people first and then try to commit suicide you're trying to take away people's lives, number one, who are not asking to die with you, who do not want to die with you, who do not want to die themselves, and you are also taking those people away from the other ones that love them. So this poor father, I can't imagine his pain of coming home to find all of his precious children dead. I'm sure there was at no point that he said, I really wish someone would kill these kids. So I mean, I just feel like it's just so selfish. And then of course it always, I would say 90% of these stories that I read where there's a murder-suicide with the mother, almost 90% of the time they say that she attempted to kill herself as well and could not follow through with it, or it did not work, or she didn't cut deep enough or jump from far enough or breathe in enough toxins of carbon monoxide or whatever. And you know, I'm sure they are in a dark place too. I'm sure there is, you know, some way we can measure of how dark of a place that they're in and say, yeah, that's why they did it. But I just feel like they've, I guess, been pushed past a point of understanding how selfish they're being by taking the lives of others who people love, and those same others who do not ask to have their own lives taken along with them. And people asked right away, of course, why would this mom do this? And unfortunately, they don't really give us a reason. They don't tell us in the story. They don't tell us in the news article. It said it's still being investigated, which I imagine they're probably never going to follow up on. This woman's just going to end up going to jail, or a lot of times actually the court writes it off and says like, oh, due to you know, a huge amount of stress, we're going to let you off, which, I mean, I don't know. I feel like at the very least they should be put into a hospital for the criminally insane. I don't quite know Japan's status as far as whether or not they have those kind of facilities. I think most of the times they do not. So, and again, this is like such a sad situation where a lot of the times when this happens, and I imagine this might be part of this, I don't know, a lot of times when this happens in Japan, it's due to poverty. Even the article itself that was written about this said, this has happened many times before in Japan, and almost 100% of the time it's due to poverty. This same year, a woman killed herself and her teenage daughter after she found out she wouldn't have enough money to pay rent for the next month. And then another one was a woman jumped off a cliff with her 2 kids into a river to commit suicide, murder/suicide. because she didn't have enough money. She had like lost her job, which is just so incredibly sad. Like I know Japan has certain government help, but at the same time Japan also has this air of like not losing face, of not, you know, not giving up your pride of being able to take care of yourself, to not show the shameful aspect of being a struggling person who can't cope with how society works. I mean, it's the reason we have the hikikomori epidemic of people locking themselves into their rooms and never coming out because they can't function and show a happy, upbeat, in line, socially adept face every day in Japan, which I'm not saying as Americans we can do that at all. If anything, we have lots of screwed up people, possibly even more, but I guess the difference is we're not opposed to having them being out in public. Like you can be kind of crazy in public, you can be kind of bent out of shape in public, and people will either want to avoid you or number two, feel sorry for you, or number three, try to help you. Whereas I'm not saying Japanese people won't try to help each other. They will. Like I said, there's the proper government help in place. There is help for the poor. There is funding for the poor. There is people. There's stuff put in place for people who are dealing with poverty. But I feel like sometimes it's not taken advantage of because they don't want to experience the shame of having to ask for help. And that's another thing that just kind of breaks my heart, man. I wish there was some way we could reach out to those people in private, possibly, to help them avoid, I guess, this loss of face for asking for help. Or, but you know, again, I don't work in this kind of, you know, uh, what would you call it? I don't work in this kind of, you know, social help. I don't work in this kind of government job, so I don't know quite everything that goes into it. I'm, you know, merely being idealistic with my ideas of just trying to help. Yeah, I would like to be philanthropic in any way that I can with, you know, lending my own time or money to those in need, as I myself am, you know, well-to-do and fine with my situation. Um, but I wouldn't, in Japan, I wouldn't even know how to go about it. So, I mean, it's just really kind of another really depressing situation. Guys, I want to continue to do this. I love doing JFAQ, but in the future, I think I want to try and get into a mode of balancing out these JFAQs with, if I'm going to do something this depressing and I guess overwrought with just heartbreaking situations, perhaps I should wait and take the time to take multiple news stories in that people are sending me so that I can balance out all different types of reports and show the whole of Japan rather than just these depressing excerpts. As I've said many times before, I love Japan. Living in Japan is great. It's a great country. It's great to live here, and for the most part, it's very safe, very non-violent, very peaceful, very helpful, and very happy. But I feel like recently I'm putting a very negative light on the country by doing these crime reports. So hopefully in the future, I think what I'll do is just take some time to gather up a multitude of stories of different types of subject matter, and hopefully I can deliver to you something that doesn't leave you with kind of a downer for the day, more of an upbeat, happy-go-lucky part of the day. Until next time, I'm unrested with the questions you requested. This is JFAQ, Japan's frequently asked questions. Have a good one.